If I didn't do this one thing in 2024, it would have cost me $1 million. And that is, what is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Oscar Cardona. I own a media company called Pathfinder Productions and a podcast studio called The Pod Place, the place to podcast. And today we're going to go over building your personal brand for beginners in 2025. What you should do, what you shouldn't do, and some practical tips that'll get you on your way. So what is a personal brand, right? We see in our society like people reaching extreme heights with personal brand. And then we see people like putting themselves out there, maybe looking silly and failing. So what is the desire? Why do people do that? Take, for instance, the Hawk Tuah girl, right? If you're not familiar with the Hawk Tuah girl, she got interviewed on the street. She said something about BJ's. It went viral, and all of a sudden, she leveraged that to make millions of dollars. I think she was working with Logan Paul. She launched a meme coin, which was ultimately a rug pull and scammed people out of millions of dollars. I'm not qualified to talk about that. And that's neither here or there. But the point is, she leveraged this one viral moment and built her personal brand to extreme heights to be able to leverage millions and millions of dollars. And I think that's the allure, right? Like, as a society, we could leverage a personal brand for immense things, right? We could leverage a personal brand for millions. We could leverage a personal brand for sponsorships. We could leverage a personal brand to help the masses and influence and impact people to live better lives. So a personal brand is extremely valuable. And if you're at the very beginning and you're like, yes, I want that. I need that. That's what I want to do. But you look up and it's like Mount Everest, right? It seems like an impossible feat. And maybe we don't even know where to get started at. And I was there once before too. I came from that same position. So I'm going to give you some practical tips on what to do to get started with building your personal brand. So the number one thing you're going to want to do is identify the niche, the market, who you want to serve, and how you want to serve them, right? And ideally, it's something that you're already doing and you're already good at and something that you love, right? That could be makeup tutorials. That could be videography. That could be product reviews. That could be literally anything that you're already doing. Like, it could be sales training. It could be just anything that you're good at, that you're passionate, and that you just feel compelled to endure the test of time with. So now, once you identified what that is, now you got to identify who your target avatar is, right? Like, if you're doing makeup tutorials, chances are maybe it's young women who are, into skincare, into fashion, into makeup. So that's like who the avatar is, right? And that's important because once you know who they are, maybe it was a good thing that I've a good reference I've heard people saying is like, think of yourself 5 years ago. So once you know who the avatar is, you could strictly communicate to them and you can deliver your message clearly and concisely, and it can be received by those people. So once you know the niche, you know your avatar, the next thing you're going to want to do is create content. Dun, 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 right? Like, oh, creating content. It seems like maybe you don't have the identity of a content creator. But if you think of a personal brand prior to the content industry or the social media industry, it used to be like a reputation, right? It was how many hands you shook and the impression that you left upon people. It's the same in today's day and age, but now it's made with content. And that is a broad topic. We could make a whole separate YouTube video strictly about content, right? But let's just leave it at that. We're going to need to make content. But before that, we need to identify what medium we're going to distribute that content through. And ideally at a really high level, you want to distribute it across all platforms. But in the very beginning, I would just focus on what it is that you're already using the most. So whatever platform you're currently spend the most time with, that you're consuming content on, whether it's Instagram, whether it's X, whether it's Threads, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok, we just survived the TikTok ban. Whatever medium it is that you're most comfortable with, I would start there. And depending on what medium that is, it's going to determine the type of content that you're going to create. Now, back to the content. So there's a million billion ways to make content, right? As you could tell, I'm currently making YouTube content. So lighting, camera, audio is extremely important. But on TikTok, phone content is more favorable. So you want to use the resources you have. To me, I'm always big on just creating momentum and figuring the rest out. Like at any shoot or any time I'm shooting with a client, like the first thing I say, it's like, let's just spitball, let's just create momentum, and then we'll go back and fine tune like the really good parts, right? So you just want to create momentum and you want to use the resources at hand. So maybe if you don't have this like, $4,000 camera and $1,200 lens and $500 mic, like maybe you don't have all those things, but you have a phone, and a phone is a great place to get started. So again, depending on the medium, like maybe you could, if you're going to use YouTube, the audio is obviously important and lighting, but with a window and a cheap mic, you could start off, like just create momentum, because as you go through the process of creating content, you're going to learn the process, right? Like you're going to learn what works and what doesn't work. And there's no point in like being like, okay, I got to save up $6,000 to get a camera, or $7,000 or $10,000 to get all the right equipment, because depending on what level of business you're at, but this is for beginners, maybe you don't have $10,000, or maybe it's going to take a long time to save up $10,000. And instead of putting in those inputs of like getting feedback on your phone, learning the things that you need to be doing with your content while saving up those $10,000, like if you're not doing that, then you're going to be way behind when you do get to $10,000 to like get the equipment that you think you need to put out content. So just get started with the resources you have. Now, that being said, there is another major barrier that we face when putting out content, and that is the fear of criticism, right? You might think like, oh, that's not me, but it shows up in very sneaky ways that you might not understand that is a fear of criticism. It might show up in a way like, I need to get all the best equipment, right? Or the best lighting or the best things that prohibit you from taking those actions. It might be, I don't like the sound of my voice or whatever. It might be, I need to get the right outfit, or I need to buy a Rolex before I could show up on camera, or I need to be an expert. I need to be this or that, right? All of these things are just barriers that our mind is putting in front of us because we don't want to look silly. We don't want to look stupid in front of everyone we've ever met on our social medias, right? Everyone we've ever met follows us on our social medias. Our, coworkers, ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, ex-bosses, everybody, aunts, uncles, cousins follow this, right? And we care about their opinions, so we don't want to look stupid, or we don't want to embarrass ourselves, or we don't want to be judged, or we don't want to be criticized. And I'm here to tell you, you have to take the Gary Vee approach. Like, fuck what people think to the highest degree, right? They're not going to contribute to your success. Then who cares? You need to overcome that fear of criticism. And that is going to show up in the very beginning of before you put out content. You're going to have to overcome that fear of criticism before you start putting out content. So maybe that was backwards. Maybe I did that backwards, but that's okay. You guys get the point. So next, right? So you overcome fear of criticism. You started putting out content. You're failing forward. You're using the resources you have. Last but not least is the most important metric, is you're going to have to be consistent over a long period of time. I've been building my personal brand and putting out content out into the ether, right? Out into the void of nowhere since 2011. Since 2011, all right? It's 2025. I didn't make my first six figures with content until 2020. So that was from 2011 to 2020. That was 9 years of putting out content, of figuring out my personal brand, of trying different businesses before I ever made six figures with my production company, Pathfinder Productions. And six figures, I don't know about you guys, maybe it sounds like a lot of money to you, and to me it was a lot of money at that point in time. But six figures in today's landscape with inflation and with the things that are going on, groceries, gas, rent, interest rates, like, it's not that much money. Like 6 figures is almost like what is needed to be a middle class. And so again, side tangent, you can use your personal brand to leverage multiple 6 figures. I've leveraged it for millions. So you have to be consistent over a long enough period of time, and don't be discouraged about not getting the results right away. It takes time. And this goes to like, you have to be consistent and you have to try and you have to fail, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to look silly. It's okay to put out bad videos or put out bad content. That's how you're going to learn. Like, if I showed you my very first videos ever, if the editor pulls it up and plugs it in, that would be cool. It's very cringy. Like, it's so cringy, but I had to do that. And I had to overcome those like fears, and I had to put out bad content to get better at it over the course of time. And it's okay, because when you're first putting out the bad content, you're going to get the least amount of views, right? Like, it's right now is the least known that you're ever going to be. So you might as well kind of fail through it. And as you're failing through the process, right, as you're putting out videos, take inventory of it, right? Like, so one day maybe you put out your first video, it gets 10 views, like, cool, 10 views on a brand new YouTube channel or brand new Instagram page, whatever. That's good feedback. Now, the next day, let's say you put out a video and then that video gets 20 views. Okay, what did you do different that got the 20 views? And take that feedback and apply it, right? The next day, you put out a video and it gets 50 views. Like, what did that video do different? And you keep applying the feedback that you gain from putting in the inputs every single day over a long enough time horizon, and you will be successful with your personal brand. Hands down, no doubt about it. You will be able to leverage your personal brand for everything that you desire. You can make millions of dollars. You can be, do, and have anything that you desire, and you could use your personal brand to leverage that. Just be consistent and don't give up. That is where 90% of people fail, is they start off, right, excited, motivated, then they overcome, if they get past overcoming the fear of criticism, then they get to the point where they've overcome the fear of criticism, they're putting out content, but they don't endure. You have to continue to put out content for an extended period of time, years and years and years, in order to leverage. Sometimes there's anomalies. Like, sometimes people get lucky, right? And then they go viral, like the Hawk Tuah girl, and it's just like off to the races. But I've never had an easy way. I don't know the easy way. I don't know the hack. I just continue to put out content slow and steady and consistently for the long-term horizon. That's always been my strategy, and maybe you might get lucky. Like, maybe something will go viral and hit for you. But continue to keep up the momentum even after it goes viral. You need to keep up the pressure and keep it going. So most people fail from not being consistent over a long enough time horizon. So just remember to be consistent. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with what your biggest takeaway is. And I look forward on seeing you on the next one. Peace.